and I figured it out.
She solved it.
I've solved it. 12 points to me.
Hi, I'm Xavier.
Hey, I'm Bree.
And welcome to MelodiFIGHTivalen,
the extremely subjective Eurovision opinion tournament.
We are already up to episode 6, our semi-finals. Very exciting. Some really interesting choices have gone into the 4 very worthy songs. I think we've got a fantastic winner in any of them. To help us decide who has another chance to go for Eurovision glory is the lovely Caitlin Matheson. Hello.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. We're very excited to have you here. We're also very sorry that you're in the high pressure end of this contest.
I know. I didn't think that picking like the second last time slot would mean that I was under the pressure of picking like nearly the last 2 to go through. So, so it'll be interesting. But I'm also kind of sad that I don't get to talk on a lot of the other songs. So that's obviously.
Oh, yes. Well, speaking of Eurovision, why don't you tell us what Eurovision is? We've asked all of our guests this question. What is Eurovision?
Well, from my knowledge of it is that it's a singing contest, or a song contest, I should say, not a singing contest, a song contest. I don't know that much detail about it, really. I've just always enjoyed watching it. I just think it's a lot of fun.
So, do you have a favourite Eurovision song in general? Not necessarily from this year?
Not really. Like, I don't have one in general. I have a favourite from this year. It's not in the top 4, but...
Let's ask about that now. Actually, before we do that, what's your history with Eurovision? How long have you been watching?
Probably I would have seen it for the first time maybe, 10 years ago, and didn't really understand what it was. And then sort of over the years, I've heard more about it, had people have watch parties and I would maybe tag along, but I've never been like super enthusiastic about it. But I've always thought it was fun to watch whenever I have. So yeah, I do enjoy it.
So I know you've got some feelings about where we're standing at the moment with the current entries. Why don't you talk to us about that? Safe. Very safe.
My top 3 favourite songs are no longer in the competition, so I'm pretty devastated, to be honest.
Oh no.
My favourite was Poland. Oh no, is that an unpopular opinion?
I think we're the ones with the unpopular opinion.
Yeah. Oh really? You guys didn't like it, but other people do?
Well, it did really well. It came 8th.
My notes for Poland are in all capitals. Obsessed with this immediately. Thank you for the key change. I've been waiting for one. Can I give this 12 out of 10? Also came after like a chunk of like 5 or 6 songs that I was really bored by. So I think like when that came along and I was like, yes, this is what I want from a Eurovision song. My other 2 favourites were Australia, obviously. I mean, like that song is just incredible and she deserves to be right up the top there. Russia as well, which also was like quite up there. So I'm pretty sad to see them out of the running, but that's okay.
I think I am responsible for every single one of those being not in the competition.
Well, I am with you, Katie, in Australia and Russia. I voted for both of those when they got kicked out.
Yeah, no.
Australia versus Belgium was really, really hard, though. Poland was an easy decision. I'm pretty sure that was unanimously.
That's so crazy to me. I loved it. Oh, that's hilarious.
Katie, what colour is your life then? What colour is it? What is it?
Black, obviously.
Good morning for Michael. I feel awful. Like I emotionally am very unhappy with myself, but I don't know why, because I think this is just the nature of it up against it. I can't believe Australia is out, and yet that was I'm responsible for that.
I'm satisfied with the top 4. It's a really good top 4. Though there was some moments where I was very upset that Australia was gone, even though I love Belgium. My biggest one was Austria went out really early, and that's one that I really, really love.
Let's have a look at the bracket, how it now stands. We've been through 5 rounds. We've eliminated 28 songs from Eurovision 2016 with only 4 left. 2 spots in the finals. Who will make it through? Our matches for today are Ukraine versus Bulgaria and Belgium versus Israel. Let's see who will make it through to our grand final.
Let's go to our first semi-final. We've got Ukraine versus Bulgaria. Let's get into our first match of 2 today. High pressure, high stakes. We've got Ukraine's 1944 versus Bulgaria's If Love Was a Crime. This might be the hardest one for me. I love these 2 songs. Good luck, us. On the surface, 1944 is a lot more complex than If Love Was a Crime. It's true, but there are additions and complexities added to If Love Was a Crime to just bring it up. There's like this awesome synth brass counter melody in the last chorus that really like pumps it up. That I really enjoy. 1944. I said this before. It takes a lot more risks in compositions. It meshes together some pretty distinct styles pretty successfully that you wouldn't think to. You've got some of the traditional things and some really contemporary things in there. The most striking bit for me is when the song stops and she's got that sort of like prayer, like really, really grief-stricken vocal run that and then goes right up into a belt into the last chorus. It's just a really cool move to stop. It reminds me of how Armenia's had talking at the beginning and a big build up to tempo. I think it's really cool because most Eurovision songs get, here's our tempo, this is where we're staying. Lyrics wise, both of these songs include languages that aren't English, which I love. I love when Eurovision songs use their languages, especially when it's, a really traditional language, not just a national language, like in 1944. It's really cool.
I don't know really anything technical, but I know both of these singers are exceptional. The one thing that stands out for me in both songs is there's a quality of breathlessness, and you can hear their breathing at different points within the song. With Bulgaria, she stops and has those few breaths, which I just love. I think you can hear Jamala breathing quite heavily towards the end of 1944, which I think is so cool, particularly because the point of Eurovision is it's sung live. We're getting quite desensitized to live singing because there's so much that is pre-recorded and mimed. So I love being able to hear that this is a real voice of someone. Obviously, with the Ukraine, we go on a story through the music and the lyrics. It moves through where it is a bit more repetitive in Bulgaria, but I don't mind that. I agree that the use of a language other than English is extremely successful in both songs. We went through some other songs, not so much. It doesn't feel like an afterthought. It feels like it is what makes the song interesting.
The Ukraine one, I think the song is, this is going to sound bad, I didn't quite understand what it was about, but I could still understand like the drama and the story of it, even though I wasn't quite following the actual plot of the song. I love the like drama of it. I really enjoyed that in terms of the song and the musicality, and I think it had like such an awesome build by the end. Yeah, and that press stuff that you mentioned, Xavier, I just think was really powerful and cool. Whereas with Bulgaria, the repetitiveness I actually didn't love. I didn't feel like it went anywhere, and I just felt like I heard the same chorus 3 times in a row with no kind of, didn't build for me at all. I actually wrote boring in my notes. So
Cool, awesome. This is the fun of this. Points out how subjective this is, because opinions can be so wildly different.
Yeah. It would be no fun if we all had the same opinion.
Jamala obviously had this very deep richness to it, and I think we hear a lot more of her voice, and I just think Polly has a fantastic voice. I could listen to her all day, every day.
Look, they're both great singers, and I'm not going to go harsh on, I don't know their names, just going to call them countries again, Bulgaria, in this one, because as a music theatre classic trained singer, pop is like so difficult to sing. It's not written for you to like have easy places to breathe. And so I think she did a really good job. Unfortunately, I don't think it gives her a lot of room to shine. She just kind of sings the same thing over and over again. Whereas with Ukraine, obviously that song just gave her so much. Yeah, like she's got such a rich voice, such a powerful voice. Her emotions are connected so much to her vocals. And she does that whistle tone. I like lost my mind.
Yeah, the pop music is really hard to sing. I think people, don't appreciate how difficult it is, especially to sing live and sound as good as a recording. Polly from Bulgaria has a stunning voice. She sings really well. She only really gets one choice to show off, and it's only a tiny little bit. It's the last down, except way higher, towards the end. Really controlled, dancing the whole time, keeping really active and connected, and still really solid and in the pocket. Yeah, Jamala from Ukraine just really shows off her voice. She sings in a pop style, but with her really distinctive voice. And then she's got this prayer element that is just completely different tonal shift. In that last chorus, you really hear the shifts. She goes from that prayer voice into a more of a belt style, and with some really fast movement, and then the next bar without a stop. She doesn't stop at all in that last chorus. She goes straight back into that the chorus style, and then into that soprano whistle tony full-on thing, and then straight back to a really soft last line, and it's insane. One thing I do want to point out with her vocals, she's doubling the traditional instruments in the background in that first, the really fast one, which we've heard. That motion is actually way faster than you expect and hear on that first time. She's doing these really quick little triplet. There's so many little tiny notes in there that is moving super fast and then jumping into another line. It's so impressive. You can't not feel what Jamala is feeling in 1944. It's heartbreaking. It's just all out there. I can understand how some people will be like, oh, that's a bit much. But I love the drama. I love music and art making me feel things. So I was really here for that. That's what really caught me the very first time I heard that song. And just the way that she can sing through almost crying the whole time, it's really hard to do. So I'm very impressed with that. And she's just in the whole time. But that said, Polly is in it the whole time too, and she's really just loving being on the stage. In 2011, she didn't get to qualify to the final, and then she did. And I feel like that first look where she's just got the eyes closed, the open, big smile, like she's just in her place, and she's not trying to be like, yeah, let's go. She's just there loving it in the moment. When she's dancing, it's not like, here's the dance. Oh, it's choreographed to do, even though it is, because it matches the screens behind her, and it's the same each chorus. It just is filled with so much joy, and it makes me happy, and I dance along with it every time we watched it. Hey, there, so good.
There's so much emotion that just drips from Jamala, but I have said it before, it can be a bit draining. particularly if you're listening to it back to back over and over again. So it's not necessarily the one I would continue to keep watching. But again, that's very privileged of me to sit here and say, I don't want to be sad. But, you know, it does feel so sincere from her, though, because we have seen other performances attempt to do this very emotional storytelling song in Eurovision with much less success because it's not sincere. It's, I'm hitting my beats, I'm sad, oh, look at me, I'm sad. Whereas hers is just so natural in both semi-final and final. Whereas Polly, I'm just so there for it. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. She just makes me feel so happy from the first beat. She has that cheeky look in her eye that just says, I'm so happy to be here and I know what I'm doing. She is able to resonate. The joy that she's feeling of being at Eurovision is what I kind of want Eurovision to be, is that joy. So it's so hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying it. They're both committed 100%. Yeah, there's no way that they're throwing this away. They're definitely giving it all they've got. I will agree with Bree a tiny bit on the drainingness of Ukraine. I did feel like it almost went a little bit too overboard, like in terms of giving a little bit too much emotion. Sometimes you want to hold back a little bit, I think. Bulgaria, yeah, she's obviously giving it everything. I will just say I wish she would have committed to the dancing a little bit harder. If you're going to commit 100% to the dance, your vocals are going to fall a little bit. So maybe she was saying, I'm going to make sure my vocals are incredible and I might go a little bit easier on the dance moves.
Possibly one of the reasons that they've gotten this far in the contest is I think both of them use the staging and the lighting design incredibly well. I think Jamal's is used incredibly well because she's a part of it at that point where she obviously, the red comes in, she becomes the tree. It's interesting to point out neither of these two performers use the supplemental stage in the audience. So both of them just stay on the main stage, which is probably a good choice for both songs. I want a light up dress and earrings. If I could, I would wear that all day, every day, and I would turn the lights off and run into a room and make everyone so excited.
I think the staging is interesting because the staging and in terms of the blocking and where they go is really quite simple. They both have a walk forward that's very deliberately placed, and they both have a little bit of choreography. The 1944 is the one that choreography doesn't look like it is, but she did it twice. It's the in the prayer and does this and then brings it up is really, really effective because I think it helps her get into the zone for it. And the choreography is obvious in If Love Was a Crime. I like that it matches up with the screens in the background. A part of me goes like, it's cheating. You can't have more than 6 people, but it's a screen. And the walk forwards are cool. It's Polly's walk forward in the Bulgarian song where she's just sort of seductively walking forward. And at the start, the way that she's walking forward in the first verse, like she's looking for something and is a bit lost, and so like reaching towards the camera is another thing that gets you in because she's almost appealing to you or looking to you for something as the viewer. And yeah, I think it's a really cool choice. And then using the big tree. The big tree is such a cool moment that feels really well used.
Nothing to say that you guys haven't already said in terms of the tree and the lighting in Ukraine on the floor was just spectacular. To be honest, like a lot of the lighting throughout the entire show this year I thought was incredible. Like Italy was sick, the tree and everything and the ground. And I actually, during Russia, I just was like losing my mind the entire time because I was like, what is happening? How is he doing that? So I think throughout the whole show, they've just been really imaginative in what they can do with the lighting. I just thought it was cool. And yeah, that's no different in Ukraine. I think they used it really, really cleverly. It added to the performance without taking away anything of what she was doing. Whereas with Bulgaria, I do think that the lighting overshadowed her a little bit in comparison to everything else. Even like the backing dancers were so big compared to her that she just looked small in comparison. But the light up dress was just like sick. I was like, that's awesome when that happened. I probably would have liked a bit more cool choreo, like the same choreo 3 times over. I was like, oh, I've seen it. I know she's going to do that same move again. And it was a bit repetitive, but that's all I would say.
For better or worse, Polly needs that costume. That costume is an integral part of what the performance is. It's what gives it so much drama. It's spectacular. I want it. You knew the minute she came out, you could see it in the earrings. You're like, that better light up. Because I would have been so pissed off if she walked off stage and it didn't light up. That was a waste. Jamala has a beautiful outfit. And I think the sleeves are fantastic. But I think she could be in 19 different costumes and it be the same thing. Like, I don't think it gives so much to the song. It didn't give anything. It wouldn't lose anything if she had another outfit on.
Yeah, I think you bring in a really good point. I think the look is really integral to the whole presentation of If Love Was a Crime. 1944, like you said, the costume is made to just be a part of it. So she looks nice, but we're not looking at her costume. We're listening to the song and watching her. But it lights up at just the right moment as well. The costume in If Love Was a Crime, and it looks awesome. But the whole look is really cohesive, down to they used the triangles in the set and they didn't light up every screen at the back to get that really strong triangle that matches the lines on the light up outfit.
What I think is the annoying thing is that when the backing singers come out in Bulgaria, some of them have the same triangles, but they don't light up. So she's still lit up, but they're not. And again, I've mentioned before, I find it a bit weird that they wait till the end to bring them out. I think maybe instead of the projections of the dancers, her dancers should have come out with her and been out there more, and they needed to light up, because you've got a light up costume. That's sick. Like, nobody else has that. Have all 6 of you doing that.
Well, let's take this to a vote. Katie, do you want to hit us off with the votes? Where would you like to send your vote? Who do you want?
I don't think this is going to be a surprise, is it? My vote's definitely going for Ukraine. It just, besides my top 3, it was like in my next kind of rung of ones I really liked. So, sorry, Bulgaria.
Bree.
I'm gonna play Devil's Avocado again and make it difficult again. Ukraine, she's just so spectacular, and the song I want more to listen to, and the song I want to, make me feel something is Joy, and that's Bulgaria. So I'm sorry.
Okay, well, you're putting me in a hard position because I love both of these songs. They're right up. They're both in my top 4. They're both in the top 4 of the real results as well. One has grown on me even more, and one was the front runner for me. I'm not going to tell you which one of those 2 things is taking over my vote, because I want it to be exciting next episode. I am going to vote this way. I'm going to vote for Ukraine. I feel like I'm voting against Bree all the time, but it's not what I mean to do.
And this is why we will never be in the same room together again.
I think it's good, though. I think if we always voted together, it would make for a dull show, because we're the hosts every time. So it's probably good. Well,
it's fine. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
In another really tough decision, and our very first grand finalist for MelodiFIGHTivalen is Ukraine going through. Congratulations, and apologies to Polly from Bulgaria. An amazing song that we love. Let's move on to our second semi-final, which is Belgium versus Israel. Let's see where this goes. So we're almost there. We are in semi-final 2. It's Belgium's What's the Pressure versus Israel's Made of Stars. I'm personally very surprised about this matchup. I'm not unhappy about it, though.
What's the Pressure is like the boppiest bop I've ever heard in my life. Not even kidding. When I watched it the other day, I was dancing around my kitchen. I couldn't stop. Like, I was just like bopping the entire time. It's got that kind of like disco pop funk feel to it that I just can't help but dance to. Yeah, I just feel like it has such a cool like trajectory through it musically and vocally. Sometimes I don't really register the lyrics. Like, I just was like, this is such a bop, and it didn't really even matter to me what the song was about. I was just having such a good time the whole time. In terms of Made of Stars, I feel like there was a few times where I go, oh, that sounds like this song. And then it got to another part and I was like, oh, it sounds like this song. And so I didn't think it was incredibly original. I feel like it was going for a build to a big finish, but I didn't feel like it quite got there in terms of the structure of the song. But lyrically, it made a bit more sense to me. It was easier to follow in terms of what the song is about.
I think one thing that Eurovision songs get a bad rap for is lyrics that sound a bit like, oh, that's so simple, that's a bit tacky, especially when they're singing in English. They want to make it very clear so you can follow, because there is a huge amount of people watching that may not have English as their first language. So they do try to keep it quite simple. And I think that's what I like about Hovies. I don't know what I'm seeing half the time, but it just makes me want to sing with him. And I think it's beautiful. The silver fragments falling, like I don't know what it is about that image that I just think is so beautiful. Whereas Pressure, just, you're right, I don't care what she's singing. She could be singing her grocery list. She could be, I don't know. I really don't care what she's singing. I'm just there for it. I'm having so much fun. Musically, it's exciting because you don't know what's going to happen next. I think when it comes to backing vocals, they both use their backing vocals quite well. However, you don't see them. But I think they keep repeating the line. I wrote it down. Hypnotize me. The backing vocals kept saying, hypnotize me. And I really liked that. They didn't just have the backing vocals singing what he was singing, and the backing vocals on Belgium were just fantastic. They were a group from the start, and you were just so excited that they were all there.
I think the composition of What's the Pressure is a slam dunk. It's interesting because there's a lot of funky songs in Eurovision that don't really sound like anything. It's like, oh, this is a funky song. But the arrangement is really good. The harmonies in the brass and the little licks and call and responses from those are really cool. I'm going to maybe disagree with both of you in terms of the lyrics. I understand the lyrics of What's the Pressure a little more than Made of Stars. Neither of them really tell one specific story. What's the Pressure is a bit more like, hey, there's these people who don't really engage, but or who are scared. Let's not be scared. Let's get into it. It's not very specific, that said. But Made of Stars, I don't understand like the thesis statement of the song, because the bridge is where you really like drop into that idea of like, and this is what I've been singing about in the chorus. This is what I mean. And he just says, we're made of stars again. And I was like, like dance with me.
No,
like
we gotta fly across the sky. That's what he's saying. Gonna fly across the sky like there's no floor and there's no ceiling.
Yeah, because we're made of stars.
How does that not make sense?
But it doesn't explain the metaphor. It's just like, and we're still in this metaphor. But what does it all mean, Basil? I thought it was interesting in Belgium, a lot of the harmonies that are in line with Laura's vocals are the offstage singer, and the onstage singers are doing the call and responses. And it's effective. I think it looks really good. It would be weird if one of those four sang different lines, so I think that was clever.
Both vocalists make me feel safe in the fact that from the start they are just consistent. They're not too tricky. They're not trying to do too many things like some of the others. It means from the start I'm in it with them. I know they're going to hit their points. I think Hovey is a very classic Eurovision ballad. He's there to sing. Obviously, he can sing super well. I think it is beautiful. And the fact that Laura doesn't stop dancing the entire time and is singing is exceptional. We have seen some other performance when they're like, I can't do both at the same time, and they look terrified in their eyes, whereas she just looks like she is so having so much fun. She's done this 1,000,001 times that it doesn't even falter in her voice.
I agree. They're both pros, which is cool.
I was saying this with Holly before, whereas when you're dancing and singing, sometimes one of those things has to take a hit. And I didn't mind that in this very, very few kind of parts where I might have faulted Laura's vocal performance, I didn't care because I could see how much effort she was giving in every other area of her performance. And it didn't bother me because I was like, oh, look how much she's giving. She's giving everything. And if her voice wavers a tiny bit here, I don't care because she's just giving so much. I also just really loved the tone of her voice. It was just beautiful. Like, I just thought it was a really interesting tone. Hovey, I think he could have done more. I think like he could, with a more difficult song or something, he could have given a much more incredible performance. I don't think he did a bad performance in any stretch, but I think he was capable of doing more. Still, both really great singers, so.
Hey, Katie, what did you think of the circles? Dave and I have talked about the circle dances for so long, and I just realised to hear what you were going to say.
Yeah, totally.
I'm baffled. I'm really baffled. I don't understand. I just don't get it. Can you explain it to me? Because I was like, what is happening?
We're as lost as you are with those.
Okay. I was so confused.
Up till now, in the other categories, have been evenly matched, but the staging category just has to go straight to Belgium for me. The choreography is so appropriate. A lot of it's like legit boogaloo moves, and some of it's really complex. There's some really like tight little like isolated moves, which is really impressive. But then they get to the chorus, like what's the pressure, like, and you just get into that because it's like really sort of like you get that this little bop and the and they all smash it, and they can all sing and dance at the same time. Yeah, it's like real classic backing dancer, but they do it in the right style. It's not just like, oh, well, let's choreo this, whatever. A lot of thought went into it. The last move is really cool, where they all do a slide together. I can't remember. I think she might have been off account, or she's just deliberately doing something different and then joining in. But it's just so cool, that choreo. Almost everything to do with the staging of Made of Stars. I'm like, why? That's what I wrote. I went, why? Oh, except for when we talked about this last time, when the camera goes through the hoop. That's really effective. Tell me that you understand. Otherwise, the staging could have been awesome. This is probably me being a contemporary dancer, but I would have liked to see some contemporary dancers sort of telling the story of it. I feel like I would have liked the lyrics more if I could see the story happening on stage a little bit. Maybe not super literally, but just some sort of connection. I think it would have really fit there. And oftentimes I see contemporary dance in Eurovision and I do the same thing. I go, why? But I think it would have fit here.
Just to go back to the hoops for a second, I'm still really confused about it. And then it lit up at the end and I was like, why is it lit up now? Why wasn't it lit up at the start when it first appeared? Their outfits weren't even sparkly. I didn't get it. I was like, give me something to... And they just span. They just span for the whole song. They didn't even do any tricks. I was so confused by it. It's like, I think the lights were beautiful. And obviously the raining fireworky lights came down. I think that was really beautiful. I think everything else in that number had kind of not grabbed me, and so I was like, oh, that's nice. It didn't make me go like, wow. In terms of Belgium, the staging was incredible. The dancing was so linked to the music. I felt like all of the movement was there to serve a purpose to enhance the song. Oh, but I also love when she ran out on the little front stage and she was like, come on everyone, because it's the first number in the show, wasn't it? So I think it was a really good way to get everyone on board really early on as well.
I figured it out. I figured out the hoops. Because when a person stands like this, they're a star. So the person is a star, but you couldn't see them because they were dark. So if they were in a silver jumpsuit, they're making a star. And he is therefore made of a star because he is a star. And I figured it out.
She solved it.
I've solved it. 12 points to me.
That's amazing. Good fix. I like it.
Eurovision is about extremes. With everything, with music, with what they're putting on, it's extreme. You're trying to get someone to vote for you out of 40-something contestants. So you've got to do something extreme. You're going to do it, make them silver, make them light up. I don't want anything in the background. If you're going to do it well, which is what Belgium did. The difference between the two is the camera use of audience shots. It adds so much to it because they look like stars. It is beautiful. It is a part of it. Whereas What's the Pressure, it kind of takes away. So she's like, come on, get up and dance with me. And then, you know, there's a bit of like a shot of the whole audience and they're all look like they're still.
I love Belgium. I loved her sparkly costume. I love the backing dancers' costumes. They looked so comfy and fun with their white kicks. I loved her curly blonde mop. Like, she just looked cute as heck. The lights were beautiful and gave it that disco-y, funky vibe because it was like the circles. They kind of looked like a disco floor. Like, it just was so, so fun.
I think both could, especially when it comes to graphics, could have taken more risks aside from the constellation face. I liked the design of Israel. I think it was really clean. I think it was all deliberately quite dark because when the fireworks, the pyrotechnics come out, you know, everything was really bright from then and the light up hoop. But I think they could have just gone a little bit more.
I agree with wanting more from Hovey. I love it. But we talked about before how he has very much of an Elsa moment. He has his Elsa moment where he has his star on the stage. And maybe that's what it was missing is we needed a costume reveal. Maybe if he opened up his jacket and there was silver sequins inside or, I don't know. I just want everything to be a bit more extra.
The thing with Israel, I think, is that it was like I'm performing a Eurovision song and not like I'm performing a song. So I think that kind of put me off a little bit, but it was definitely like Eurovision-y. But I would have liked a key change.
Well, that takes us all the way to our last vote of the day for our second semi-final here. Bree, do you want to kick us off with this one?
Yes. No, I don't actually. Because I don't know. Hovey is such a place in my heart. I'm wearing stars today for him. Because I wasn't sure if he was going to make it through today. Belgium gets my vote.
Excellent. Katie, where are you with this one?
Belgium gets my vote. No competition. It absolutely gets my vote.
Yeah, me too. I tried to talk through this and figure out what it would be, but it's Belgium for me as well. Wow, there it is. Belgium, congratulations through to our MelodiFIGHTivalen grand final, our number 1 and number 10 from 2016's grand final. Katie, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure. This was so fun.
Congratulations to our 2 grand finalists. Want to know who wins? Check in next week.
Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments who you would have voted for.
And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button.
And please consider subscribing.
See ya!
Bye-bye.